Welcome to yet another episode of Brand Talkies, a Kadabiti show where we believe in uncovering the stories behind the brands you absolutely love. I'm your host, Amana Chanana, and today we have an incredible guest joining us. His name is Gaurav Markan, and he's a seasoned professional with over 21 years of experience in diverse roles, specializing in establishing robust business models and effective marketing strategy. And he's currently serving as the head of ambassadors, strategic alliances, and B2B marketing at Canon India. Notably, he played a pivotal role in designing India's first car driving simulator for Maruti Suzuki in France, which has since evolved into a widely popular chain of driving schools known as Maruti Driving School. With a strong background in techno marketing and business development, coupled with a deep understanding of imaging technology and post production and professional photography, Gaurav has consistently delivered unconditional methods to maximize ROI. I just have one word for you, Gaurav. It's incredibly humble. Thank you so much for coming up on the show. It really means a lot to me. I'm really delighted to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tamanna.
Okay, amazing. Let's start by having you tell us a bit about yourself and your path in the world of marketing. Where did it all begin?
So it's been quite a story now. Like it's been 2 decades that I have been into this. So
Yeah.
what I have, like in marketing, largely right from the beginning, I have a very strong inclination to do it with a combination of technology. So
Mhm.
I never started with marketing by default.
Okay,
It's always said that you learn in the curve of experience that
exactly.
what you are really made for,
Hmm.
it happened to me. I started my journey with my software engineering. So I felt like I'll end up being a coding guy and all that,
Hmm.
like so. But
Oh,
I was very much inclined towards art right
hmm.
from the beginning of my childhood, which
Okay.
I had a, kind of a speed breaker in the between, like when I finished my schooling and all,
Hmm.
like long back, like around in early 2000, I would say. But
Hmm.
I gradually realized over a period of time, marketing is nothing but, like to really understand your product and disseminate its importance, like
Hmm.
in a very enjoyable way. Now the
Hmm.
medium could be verbal, medium would be visuals,
Hmm.
like and I gradually realized that this is something when I talk about a subject, whether
Yeah.
it started off with different software industries that I have worked around, like into post productions
Hmm.
and visual effects and all. So
Yeah.
when I have spent a long time into education industry, so I understand the pulse of that segment, then into productions,
Hmm.
and followed by a very long journey into camera industry now, like. So what I realized that I never left the segment of creativity or
Hmm.
innovation subject. So
Yeah.
right from the beginning, like, so I've also worked with different, like companies into gaming, like
Hmm.
serving like electronic arts
Yeah.
into virtual satellites, and
Hmm.
it all started from there. And yes, marketing is something which have been now integrated in a very fine balance to
Hmm.
all the creative journeys I have been. So
Yeah.
when I started to learn the combination, I
Hmm.
realized that this is something very, very interesting to continue. So
Okay.
for me, marketing is a correct, a very innovative and a very unconventional
Hmm.
method of conveying that what you are doing in a
Hmm.
very different way, but
Hmm.
also always challenging yourself. Is it the way, and is it the out of the box way,
Okay.
like to communicate what you
Hmm.
exactly wanted to do? So
Yeah.
that's like a quick snapshot, like of the journey. I'll give you some more examples, like
Yeah.
as we discuss. Yeah.
Awesome. I think your journey has been incredible, and people out there will be really inspired. And I feel some combination of art and technology always makes you a better marketer. And as I grow in my career, I do realize that that is very important. So, next question that I have for you: what was your aha moment in your marketing career when everything clicked and you realized that what you are doing is really big and you really want to continue that?
Well, I have a list. It's not just one.
Okay.
But yes, like, so this is particularly my style because I normally do not like to do anything conventional, and
Uh-huh.
I have a natural way to getting into new subjects.
Okay.
So when you get into new subjects at a good frequency,
Mm-hmm.
and your organization is very supportive to
Yeah.
understand that how you're contributing to the larger picture and the vision,
Mm.
I think that's where you get a very accurate room
Okay.
of combining your talent.
Mm-hmm.
So there have been many moments, like now, to be very subjective, like whether when it, I will give the larger example of the present last 10, 11 years, which
Okay.
is going to be more interesting to
Mm-hmm.
know. So of course, because you specifically asked about marketing, so I would say the moment I have been into the photography for a very long time, as an
Yeah.
artist, but when I started to blend this knowledge, like along with the marketing,
Mm-hmm.
so many projects, so one of the initial aha moment, this is just pre-pandemic that happened,
Mm-hmm.
was that when OTT was just on its inception,
Yeah.
and there have been a massive amount of people who end up shooting, no offense to any devices, but a lot of people shoot on mobile phones, and stuff
Exactly.
like that. But when it comes to professional photography or
Mm-hmm.
cinematography or video, so me coming from that side, look at it at a different edge. So
Yeah.
one of the things that came to my head was that to design something very interesting
Mm-hmm.
which really make people realize that when where a phone stops and a professional camera starts and all
Exactly.
that, so differentiator, so they
Mm-hmm.
get a feeling from coming from high school to getting into graduations and
Yeah.
into going towards their PhDs, when it
Mm-hmm.
leads to the very high end cameras.
Yeah.
So I designed, like a very unique program which gave opportunities to more than 100 people in the country, like
Mm-hmm.
who are aspiring hybrid
Yeah.
photographers, cinematographers, or
Mm-hmm.
purely very interested into the video segment,
Mm-hmm.
like to give them opportunity to shoot something very similar to Incredible India, like
Mm-hmm.
stuff, like, and this is just a reference,
Yeah.
like, and allow them, make them understand the complete process from script to screen
Mm-hmm.
on the field,
Okay.
which is
Mm-hmm.
very difficult in this segment,
Mm-hmm.
because you may be still be very fine to do script and productions at the outdoor location, but you
Yeah.
cannot handle post, like in the
Exactly.
fields.
Yeah.
So that was one of the biggest challenge, because we wanted to complete the loop of 360-degree. So
Mm-hmm.
we involved some of the finest people who come from fiction and non-fiction
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds, who have been well recognized worldwide,
Mm-hmm.
filmmakers like that. And
Right.
we create, and a lot of great companies collaborated, whether they are from the sound industry or they are from
Mm-hmm.
editing and post production industry,
Mm-hmm.
like not to name anyone because I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to add anyone. Okay,
Okay.
it's precisely they are the best in the world, I would only
Yeah.
say, like, but that's a combination, because cameras doesn't work on its own.
Mm.
It's part of a great ecosystem, even
Exactly.
if you can say it is at the brain of
Mm-hmm.
the ecosystem of filming or photography. There are many other vital organs that
That's.
makes the complete show run. So we
Mm-hmm.
did that into different locations in the country, right from
Mm-hmm.
Meghalaya to
Wow.
Andamans to Rajasthan, and finally landing up to Uttarakhand.
Mm-hmm.
And it was remarkably recognized, like even some of the states wanted to run it,
Mm-hmm.
like like the tourism campaigns,
Wow.
like
Yeah.
across India and beyond,
Mm-hmm.
wherever they were representing the
Mm-hmm.
state or the country. So I
Right.
think that was one of the greatest aha moment, where a lot of people in the country realized that
Mm-hmm.
what does it takes to have a professional filmmaking process.
Wow.
So it was a creative exercise, but
Mm-hmm.
it was well wrapped into the marketing,
Wow.
like because it
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to be designed to be
Mm-hmm.
very enjoyable, while
Mm-hmm.
very, very innovatively a learning platform at the
Exactly.
same time. And I think even till date, people ask for when is the second series coming and all that. Will it be
Wow.
India or is going to be beyond? So
Mm-hmm.
of course, we keep on thinking around those
Yeah.
subjects from time. And
I
now
can
you see how
imagine.
OTT has taken over,
Exactly.
like when it was just on inceptions.
Yeah.
So that was one of the greatest example, I could say, very
Yeah.
innovative stuff. And
Yeah.
not just this, even many other examples, like developing now, coming from photography and then from cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Cinema is very complicated in a way,
Mm-hmm.
like because it's very, very disciplined, and
Yeah.
it's a very patient thing compared to
Mm-hmm.
photography a bit, like
Mm-hmm.
because it's a longer planning, longer
True.
production, longer
Mm-hmm.
post, and
Mm-hmm.
it people look up to it, and
Yeah.
the box office is not going to shine just like that.
That's right.
So when it comes to those kind of subjects, we also wanted to bring like formats where a cinematographers, like wanted to experience everything, right from the picking up the right gear,
Mm-hmm.
and testing it out with various industry approved accessories,
Yeah.
shooting it on a set,
Mm-hmm.
and then coming back immediately to under one umbrella, under one roof, even the post, and making the files ready so it can be actually run with the DCP, which is called digital cinema prints, so that
Wow.
you can run it in the theatrical hall. So that's
Mm-hmm.
called a complete testing cycle when it comes
Yeah.
to cinematography.
Yeah.
So that was a humongous task,
Mm-hmm.
because when you design something of that kind,
Mm-hmm.
as your innovation into marketing,
Yeah.
it needs a hell of planning, and how to make all this happen.
Mm-hmm.
What you dream is one part, how you make it happen is a larger part.
Yeah.
So that was another task, that was very well received in the country, especially in places like Mumbai,
Mm-hmm.
like in Chennai and Hyderabad. So
Yeah.
we traveled with that complete capsule, of project,
Mm-hmm.
into multi cities, traveling like
Mm-hmm.
5,000 kilometers, and
Mm-hmm.
more than 2,000 finest filmmakers of the country
Mm-hmm.
experimented, picking from the cameras,
Mm-hmm.
till experimenting it on the screen. That how it's going to hold up on the big
Mm-hmm.
screen, not just the
Okay.
mobile phones or
Mm-hmm.
television. So I think that is something that we innovated first time ever,
Mm-hmm.
last year. So
Yeah.
I am glad I was given the responsibility to make that happen,
Mm-hmm.
and I nurtured it and crafted it
Mm-hmm.
to make this like an impossible kind of format actually possible. So
Yeah.
these are like couple of good examples I could
Mm-hmm.
refer to you.
If I have to go deeper and understand the entire ecosystem, I can talk to you for an entire day because this is very fascinating.
Yeah,
Especially you understand the entire psychology of different people at different geographies, then you entire create that entire experience either through photography or cinematography. That level of understanding comes with an overall experience, I'll say, because the kind of experience that you hold now after 21 years, I do understand that there will be a lot of map around how people think about one thing and then perceiving that entire innovation and making the kind of products that you want to go ahead with.
yeah.
So incredible experience. I'll really like to do a second version of this for sure. But
Okay, sure.
yeah, let's go ahead and talk about how has techno marketing revolutionized the way professionals approach photography and cinematography. Though you have covered it, but let's consider with some other example if you have.
The simple example, the combination is that, especially when you are into a field which is specialized in nature,
Mhm.
something
Yeah.
connected to technology, which is not very journalized in nature. That's why
Mhm.
it this kind of format encapsulates into B2B formats,
Yeah.
because you need to know, see, it's otherwise also just keep this basic simple. This is a common message for any marketers out there.
Mhm. Yeah.
You don't know your product, how you're going to
Mhm.
sell it.
Yeah.
Marketing is as simple as that, that
Mhm.
it is not just about to read the brochures, it's about testing the gear in your hands.
Mhm.
So here I bring, my experience and my love for photography and
Mhm.
cinematography into a lot of
Mhm.
action, because
Yeah.
the moment I see any of the new gears,
Mhm.
out there, so the
Mhm.
first thing is I tested myself in the
Okay.
field and all
Mhm.
that, so before even I push it anybody else in the industry, so I am very much clear that I really need to know my product very well.
Well.
So I think
Mhm.
that's one very clear message, that we should be a user, and we
Mhm.
should get into the shoes of like a user. And
Yeah.
the bigger challenge comes in that
Mhm.
as a user, you
Mhm.
may understand its particular genre which
Mhm.
you may have a likelihood towards, like
Yeah.
if I'm a person of nature and wildlife or fashion, so
Yeah.
I can easily test into those domains. But
Mhm.
imagine when it has to be tested in mainstream cinema, or
Mhm.
it has to be thought like how will it work into a documentary filmmaker who
Yeah.
shoots always into caves or into
Yeah.
war zones and
Yeah.
all that, or
Mhm.
journalism for that
Yeah.
format. So you have to really go an extra mile,
Mhm.
and for that you need to meet such people a lot,
Yeah.
so that you can really understand the pulse, that
Mhm.
for one you will have maybe a 3 days to do a one perfect shot, and maybe
Mhm.
for another photographer or a cameraman, for
Mhm.
them the same camera has to do the job in 3 seconds and all
Oh.
that, so it could be that vast.
Yeah.
So you need
Yeah.
to think very very diversified, that
Mhm.
basis the domains that
Mhm.
your cameras or your or your tools serve to,
Yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
that is the area where I spend most of my time. That
Mm-hmm.
if I was a journalist, how
Yeah.
would I use the camera? If I was a film cameraman, how would I use it? Or a documentary in the forest,
Mm-hmm.
or a fashion photographer, or a
Yeah.
wedding guy,
Mm-hmm.
like who has no retakes. There are
Yes.
many fields there is no retake. So
Yeah.
how would my thought process for the product will fit the bill of a
Mm-hmm.
consumer and all that. So I think that's a very simple, but
Mm-hmm.
normally it's easy to forget simple rules,
Mm-hmm.
like because we all
Yeah.
wanted to create great impressions with complex styles,
Mm-hmm.
like which doesn't solve the purpose, is what I've learned over a
Mm-hmm.
period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Keep things as simple as possible so that you have your actionables very clear and your timelines comes to be very, very clear. Yeah.
Wow. These are very small things no one will ever think about. One example I can think of, on Instagram, we usually find a lot of pictures, a lot of videos around Northern Lights. And one common thing that think that it's just a photograph, it's just a moment, and they just click it. But you know that there is a lot of hours, a lot of effort that goes into filming that or coming up with that. But yeah, you have experienced it, you have done it hands on, so I do know that what kind of effort you would have put in. But yeah, great. And especially the combination of creative plus marketing, this really sounds very fascinating, and I'm sure this would be very adventurous for you as well while you are experimenting all of it. All right, coming to the next question, can you share some standout examples of how innovative marketing strategies have impacted the photography and cinematography industry?
See, innovative is, again, I would say, I'll keep it as simple as possible.
Hmm.
Innovation is nothing but one way of understanding is to recreate, like
Okay.
recreate the message, change the vehicle,
Okay.
like of how you're conveying the message to
Hmm.
your audience.
Yeah.
And if you think about your audience very correctly,
Hmm.
innovation, what is the one of the finest way of innovation is that imagine you have taken the route of a very tickling and a funny format, like
Yeah.
of the content.
Hmm.
Or just roll back your head and think that when you were scrolling all
Hmm.
those videos, whether
Hmm.
you are on YouTube, Instagram, or any other platform,
Yeah.
when did your fingers stopped on the screen?
Okay.
Only when you found something maybe a little less seen,
Hmm.
or something which has got a great titles to it, which is very relatable, or
Hmm.
it has got a vibe, or
Hmm.
like to it, or fundamentally all, or it is a package of all the things together. So
Yeah.
as a marketer, you need to package all of that together, I would say,
Right.
not just one. Like, so
Yeah.
that's why you are on that side of the role. So
Yeah.
I would say that try to keep things, innovation is to keep it more relatable.
Hmm.
Create, have your approach of positioning your whatever product you are positioning, make
Hmm.
it very relatable. I
Okay.
think the most crucial point which I would like to add is it to keep it very engaging with, especially with youth.
Okay.
So,
Hmm.
like you have to keep this thought process in mind that am
Hmm.
I, who is my target audience? Like if my target audience, example, whatever product you are handling,
Hmm. Yeah.
like if it is 80% of is under the 24-year of age,
Hmm.
and we are
Yeah.
talking about India, so we are
Hmm.
talking about like almost like 60, I would say more than 64 crores, like 640 million people,
Right.
like directly connected to
Hmm.
your target audience.
Yeah.
So it needs to be have a very, very important role, that why would it get viral?
Hmm.
When people will relate to it, people create, have a vibe, it is targeted very much to the youth,
Hmm.
like, and it has got it connects very well to the style of content they watch these days.
Right.
So it's no more longer a cinema or television.
Yeah.
Television is even on the lower side. It's
Hmm.
the OTT time.
Exactly.
Like we see all content that we relate to it because it's more real,
Hmm.
very realistic in its approach. It has
Yeah.
got mystery, so we connect to find the reason of the mystery and all
Hmm.
that. So we need to have all these X factors connected, that
Hmm.
for making people glued to your content in a very
Hmm.
logical way. So that's what I would say. And innovation is very, very crucial. And also, I personally follow a lot on the blue ocean strategy, which
Hmm.
is simply recalls us that do not keep working on the ocean, on the island, which is already bleeding for
Maybe.
shares, for the
Yeah.
mash.
Hmm.
There are opportunities of unexplored islands, like, and take your boat to that, and
Yeah.
create also demand. Like it's not always about how to bend people towards you,
Yeah.
because after a point it may not be very sustainable. So
Yes.
you need to have keep being innovative also in
Mm-hmm.
finding what it can all serve to. Who knew that
Mm-hmm.
cameras like in the OTT space will also be in the future will be serving in OTT?
Yeah.
Who knows that the YouTube
Mm-hmm.
kind of content will go so professional that people will be releasing their
Mm-hmm.
music albums out there,
Out
and
there.
they all will be using very professional camera, as professional like any in the cinema films.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about transition towards bend of quality. So
Mm-hmm.
when it come to quality, stylization, youth vibe, connectivity, I
Mm-hmm.
think innovation will have like a king's role to play,
Mm-hmm.
like and that's what I feel is the way to go.
Wow. I have a lot of wow moments here. I am getting a lot of wow moments. Awesome. So coming to the buzz around. All right.
Oh, okay.
This is basically
That's new.
one word or one sentence.
Hmm.
Okay.
All right.
And let's try to make it very funny
Yeah.
because these are very funny questions in itself. Okay.
Okay.
If you could give a photography lesson to a penguin, what would
Oh,
be the first tip?
all right. I think for the penguin, I would simply say be consistent what you are born with, and that is patience.
Okay.
Like they're never in a rush. Like they'll walk at the speed they have to walk, and they haven't
Yeah.
always haven't got a 360-degree eye to scan it around and take their next move. So
Yeah.
I think if I have to teach a penguin, I'll tell them this is the best quality you already have,
Yeah.
and you will learn faster compared to anybody else who always are in a rush, like these days.
Yeah.
So patience is the key for penguins. Yeah, I'll make the
Cool.
best
I
out
think
of
so
it.
penguins will love it because they usually like to mingle around.
Yes, very true.
Yeah. Okay. The second question of the round. What's the most unexpected use of camera you have ever come across in your career?
Oh, one of the very interesting moments which I remember is
Uh-huh.
that when before I was shooting for the first simulator that I
Uh-huh.
mentioned, for the
Yeah.
car driving simulator. This is long back around 2005 or 6
Uh-huh.
and all that. So I have a motorbike, like so I was like a very much new entrant in getting into the field of photography and all. And
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden I got to know that I am going to redesign entire Delhi,
Okay.
okay, in France, okay.
Uh-huh.
And so I tell, okay, but what I'm supposed to do? Click
Uh-huh.
entire Delhi.
Oh.
It was so simple word that was made to me that, and I was like, took a shock for a while that what do you mean by click entire Delhi? And I literally mean because that's what we need to design for an
Yeah.
car driving simulator. You need to
Yeah.
design the roads, the locations, and
Hmm.
everything, the monuments and whatever buildings he feels to say. And
Yeah.
that's where I started with my small
Hmm.
pocket camera with a
Wow.
bike, with the permission of the police. Like because I was into a lot of time into sensitive areas, so I need
Uh,
all valid permissions.
yeah.
Sometimes I could click, sometimes I was not supposed to click, so I have
Uh-huh.
to remove it, all those
Uh-huh.
photos accordingly. But I
Yeah.
literally clicked entire Delhi. Like
Wow.
5,000 photographs bank, which was a reference for me to design it when I
Hmm.
have to go to
Hmm.
design car driving kilometers that fits as per the Indian driving scenarios and all
Oh,
that. So
okay.
you have to create, it's how you play,
Hmm.
like in a car racing game
Ah,
or
they
some
think,
kind
yeah.
of game that you
Hmm.
have Mexico City and you
Yeah.
have different cities. So we
Depends.
have Delhi as a city.
Yeah.
So that was definitely one of the very challenging moments I can never forget. And yes, of course, beyond that, I have what then it start to get interesting. I start to
Hmm.
pick my choices. That was not like it was like given to me. I had no choice to think about it. Yeah.
But if given a chance to do it again, will you do it?
Like something similar. I
Uh-huh.
am not sure about it anymore because I can make my choices now.
Yeah.
Like I'm privileged with current state of experience, but
Yeah.
yeah, I do something which I love to do now.
Okay. Cool. If you could photograph any mythical creature, which one would it be and why?
It would be always so. If you see my Instagram handle, which is
Uh-huh.
saril.frames,
Uh-huh.
like I'm in deep love with mystery and all
Okay.
that, like mysterious characters also. So
Uh-huh.
without any second thought, mermaids are going to be my first choice that I would
Wow.
love to take, followed by unicorn. Like
Uh-huh.
if I have anything in this, not too much of experiment beyond this, then it will slow down, it will
Hmm.
narrow down the list. But yeah,
Yeah.
mermaids is something. which
Mhm.
really makes me feel. And in India, one of the locations states Meghalaya. Like
Mhm.
if you ever, anyone who is listening to it ever makes a next visit to Meghalaya, you will
Mhm.
have the mermaids being worshipped, because the older generation out there who are in their 90s and 80s,
Mhm.
they still believe that if you are a pure soul,
Mhm.
you they claim to see mermaids in a lot of lakes out there, which is
Mhm.
Umiam Lake, two other lakes, and you will find those sculptures in the state, like at various places there's
Mhm.
sculptures out there.
Mhm.
So I feel very connected, like to places like this. But
Mhm.
and that's what I also had in one of in my shots, that
Okay.
I've created some concepts of
Mhm.
in photography like that.
Mhm.
So mermaids, definitely. Yeah.
Wow. Super. Super fascinating.
Mm.
Okay. Coming to the next question. This will be very funny for you, but I'll still come up with it. Have you ever caught a camera shy ghost on a film?
Like a couple of times, I would say
Uh-huh.
there are I in my language I call them the unwanted popped up characters,
Yes.
like and all that. So
Uh-huh.
yes, there are been certain, and it's all my gang friends,
Mhm.
like, so
Hmm.
they are the one who takes the privilege, because they know I am the guy when I'm on camera, and when
Uh-huh.
I'm shooting, I'm very strongly focused, like to create a
Uh-huh.
masterpiece, whether I'm
Yeah.
clicking portraitures or in the groups. But they
Hmm.
all have the uninvited guest are always there. So I think in my gangs, which is running from ages from my school time, so I
Uh-huh.
have a couple of my friends, like who have this
Yeah.
habit to do it. So
Hmm.
yes, there have been few incidents.
Okay, awesome. All right, coming to the last question of this round. If camera could talk, what do you think yours would say about the adventures it has been with you?
My cameras have always been talking, even from the shelf in the evening,
Uh-huh.
like that where we are going next. So I
Okay.
think one of the things that my cameras, if they can talk to me, I already feel that they talk to me, like, but I feel that they always feel blessed that they
Uh-huh.
are going to all Oscar winning locations,
Ooh.
like and all that, because I am a man of mystery,
Hmm.
like, and I love exploring new
Hmm.
locations. I never traveled like a tourist. I always
Hmm.
travel like a traveler,
Hmm.
so definitely having a very adventurous taste, like
Hmm.
I always have gone to from caves to lakes to unknown places to the tribal locations. My
Hmm.
camera has seen everything from my eyes in India, and some good places
Hmm.
beyond India. In fact, in few days from now, I'm traveling to on my personal expedition
Hmm.
to Kazakhstan, like next week.
Hmm.
So be shooting something new
Hmm.
altogether. So I'm
Okay.
camera is already gearing up for that.
The kind of conversation we had today, it sounds like a Nat Geo documentary about you and your experience. Okay, the buzz around is over. Let's
Sure.
come and talk about a deep understanding about technology and marketing again. In what ways has the integration of technology and marketing strategies opened up new creative avenues for photographers and cinematographers? Let's talk a bit more about cinematographers because this is something which will be very new. And
Hmm. Hmm.
photographers, I do understand there are a couple of examples that you have given to us beforehand. So let's get into
Yeah.
cinematographers.
So in terms of photography or cinematography, since I work very closely with a lot of artists,
Mhm.
so whether they are, and for diversified fields, so that brings a lot of knowledge and information for me,
Mhm.
like coming from an technology background and artistic background blend. So for me, it's very comfortable, and I make equally comfortable for them.
Mhm.
What my community of network loves when we do various projects with them,
Yeah.
like whether it's short films, whether it's documentary, or it is various kind of technological test, or films that can move. So now I bring them the challenge when it
Mhm.
comes to innovation, that we should only do something or design or do something like in films or cinematography.
Mhm.
You ask yourself, have you done it before? If you
Okay.
have done it, then
Mhm.
don't do it.
Okay.
Like if somebody else has done it,
Mhm.
again, don't do it.
Mhm.
Okay, and all that. So only if it is original in nature,
Mhm.
which defines your original craft,
Okay.
then we are going to go ahead with it.
Mhm.
Like if it has got potential
Mhm.
to shine, like across festivals and all
Mhm.
that, if it has potential to shine as a viral content, if it
Mhm.
is so innovative in its design and approach, its
Mhm.
style of cinematography, the way it has been shot, the way people feel as part of the film.
Yeah.
Like the story itself, the storytelling methodology, the screenplays, the
Mm-hmm.
style of lighting you do, the kind of the narrative it is, like, so it all needs to be an very, very powerful package.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts from right from 1 minute films to a feature film.
Yeah.
So whenever I speak to all of them, the
Mm-hmm.
first flavor they get it that he's not a guy only with marketing. He come with a
Mm-hmm.
very strong artistic background.
Yeah.
So I feel very light and great
Mm-hmm.
that when I throw them the challenge and they have a delayed answer and
Yeah.
all that. Like, so people who have got equivalent level of experience into their certain domain.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel very, very connected when they feel they are being challenged. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
best way to hold the pulse of any artist.
Yeah.
And it can happen to me. I
Mm-hmm.
have experienced this myself
Mm-hmm.
when I've been told that I have a very strong hands on portraiture, but
Mm-hmm.
but my published or my work that was out there was
Mm-hmm.
not defining the equivalent standard of work that I have been doing into nature, into
Yeah.
mystery, into
Mm-hmm.
night, astros, and a lot of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So and you don't know, somebody will come like a critic to you from nowhere. It could be a, like a 15-year-old boy,
Mm-hmm.
like a 10-year-old kid,
Mm-hmm.
like you never know how somebody will make you realize, or somebody very experienced. So I
Yeah.
have got my messengers in
Mm-hmm.
my journey,
Okay.
like who have made me realize that you are here, but
Mm-hmm.
some of your work is sitting here that's not good and all
Yeah.
that. So I think this is what I'm trying to give it back to
Mm-hmm.
all the young artists now,
Yeah.
and even who are at par, that
Mm-hmm.
let's do something which nobody has done. So
Mm-hmm.
this is very simple. It's not that simple, but
Mm-hmm.
that's where the innovation and the innovative marketing approach
True.
brings a lot of kick for the photographers and
Mm-hmm.
cinematographers out there. I love to help people to find their craft, to find themselves, their
Mm-hmm.
next milestone, which sometimes, you always need a guiding light. So
Yeah.
I feel happy when a lot of people tell me that you've
Mm.
really shown us what we couldn't see ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think in that way, I can definitely can assure that I have very good number of example of people who have really touched another level now with these kind of accepting these kind of deficiencies and
Mm-hmm.
gaps and overcoming them.
Yeah.
So I think an open mind is very important, I would
Yeah.
say, as part of this exercise. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not open, nothing is going to go ahead, like, so yeah.
Since you know your craft, you know how to make people do that. And that's very rare. There are marketers I've spoken to who have maybe more than the experience that you hold right now. And one thing that I've realized that they do know their craft, but they don't know how to master it. There's a difference between the two. So you know how to master it well, and you know how to embed the same thing from the people you are working with. So it's incredible to know that the journey that you have in and the kind of passion that you had from starting and you're following it till now. That's very rare. Especially coming from a young marketing experience, I'll tell you one thing. We all go ahead with the jobs that are paying very well, all right? But will not go for the jobs where we are passionate about, which is something that I think our generation should learn from people like you, because the passion, the kind of experience, the kind of things that you're doing comes with a similar set of things. And very few marketers do that. So trust me, you're doing an incredible job at what you're doing.
So much.
So thank you. Thank you so much for telling your story. Okay, this is the second last question. What role does effective marketing play in bridging the gap between cutting edge technology and end user in the realm of visual storytelling?
See, I would say when marketing plays its role to disseminate the real role of in the to packing the technological information
Mm-hmm.
or any the solution orientation
Yeah.
very well, as I said earlier, as in one of the example, like on a boat of a great storytelling and all.
Mm.
Like, trust me, marketing has to be enjoyed like a film. Like
Mm.
when you start working it like a film, like a
Mm.
storytelling. Think
Mm.
of the comics, how we get
Yeah.
glued to it in our childhoods
Yeah.
and all that. It's also marketing of a
Yeah.
story and
Yeah.
all that. It's packed in a form of a comics,
Exactly.
but then with the moment we see it in the shelf, but it is always the great story itself,
Mm-hmm.
the characters inside that story, which
Yeah.
has taken us into picking the series one after another.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what we need to remember is that when we board the technological part in a
Mm-hmm.
right packing of a storytelling,
Yeah.
I think anybody out there should
Mm-hmm.
be able to relate with their relevant industries, that how this connects to me. Whether
Mm-hmm.
I come from a wedding industry background, whether I come back, if I'm a wedding industry, my packaging of information in an
Mm-hmm.
innovative method
Yeah.
should pack the solution part of it
Mm-hmm.
so well inside the content that I design for
Yeah.
those kind of segment users, that they can immediately relate exactly these are the three things that I wanted in my camera, for
Yeah.
example. Or
Mm-hmm.
if it is a wildlife guy,
Mm-hmm.
exactly these are the things I needed in the field when
Yeah.
I have no times to retake. Example, speed.
Yeah.
Like animals move like speed of light
Yeah.
and all that. And focusing kind of thing is a
Mm-hmm.
very crucial thing for them. So when
Mm-hmm.
you bring relatable examples to them, but
Mm-hmm.
not just conventional way.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the twist happens when you just one is to convey the message just like a typical tutorial,
Yeah.
and one is
Mm-hmm.
to be as part of the film or a
Mm-hmm.
filmmaker to
Yeah.
narrate the story in the field,
Okay.
like that, to show it like that. This is what exactly happens with
Mm-hmm.
all the wildlife guys, and
Mm-hmm.
see, let's see how we overcome this.
Okay.
Like when you tell it like as a narrative, the
Mm-hmm.
whole approach changes. People find it very well connecting.
Yeah.
That's why you see a lot of content in the YouTube space also now
Mm-hmm.
picking popular, because it has become the entertainment and education blend.
Lens.
When
Yeah.
you blend this both nicely, so when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to, as you are asking about how marketing or innovative marketing is helping the
Mm-hmm.
set of people out there, I
Yeah.
think when you package in simple words education and entertainment
Mm-hmm.
together very
Yeah.
nicely,
Mm-hmm.
like, so you make a good cocktail or a mocktail of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the way to convey your message most in a very articulated manner and a
Mm-hmm.
very connecting manner, is
Yeah.
what I feel.
The last question is very similar to what you spoke, but I'll like to know more from a visual media point of view. How do you approach balancing technological innovation with the artistry and storytelling aspect in the world of visual media? Since this is something which is very new, people are not able to accept that entire technological innovation till now, even after COVID. But how do you actually map that artistry enthusiasm and storytelling to your marketing strategies?
See, I think I've given pretty a dozen of examples,
Yeah.
like by and large, but I think it's very individualistic approach. Like
Mm.
if you are right, a very few have got adapted to it or
Yeah.
are very quickly adapting to it.
Mm.
Like so it is a process. I think it will take time. Like
Mm.
with a massive country like India or anywhere in the world, I'm pretty sure that, because the problem is that when it comes to business management, marketing,
Mhm.
the fundamental methodology,
Mm.
like I'm not doubting any of the education system back behind it, but
Mhm.
the fundamental thought process, when you see a fresh marketing guy or a business guy coming out, they
Mhm.
come with the fundamental conventional methods with 80% of it.
Yeah.
So the room of innovation is only 20% when they come out of the schools. So
Mm.
I think if a simple input I would say is that if it start to get integrated right at the schools level, that's why IB schools are getting famous even in India now,
Mm.
because of their childhood approach to make
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
If visual methodology or the
Mhm.
artistic format is not correct,
Yeah.
then IB school should not exist and all
Exactly.
that. Like the fundamental traditional way was good enough. Why you need to make a child learn that
Mhm.
what to do with with the sand and what it has a relationship, like with the seashore,
Yeah.
only when you make the kid play in the sand.
Yeah.
That's called the power of visual memory.
Yeah.
Like, so I think, and because it is done artistically,
Mhm.
like and all that, it remains for lifetime. So that's why we say visual memory is the strongest memory.
Mhm.
You see a simple visual with
Mhm.
two words on top of it,
Mhm.
like on a billboard, and
Yeah.
you see a newspaper on the another billboard of the same
Mhm.
size. You will never see the newspaper which is loaded with text with 500
Yeah.
words. Like that's is the power of the visual medium with a
Mhm.
very less supporting words.
Yeah.
So it is an art form, it
Mhm.
is a visual medium. So I think
Mhm.
that's the way, as I said, I will reiterate that if your target of majority of companies out there have got, if not less, above 50%
Mhm.
are youth.
Yeah.
Any form of product you pick it from
That's
the
right.
industry.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is the case, we need to understand their taste of consumption. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if the consumption is very clear to you, you will
Mm-hmm.
be understanding the mediums, you will
Mm-hmm.
be understanding how, if you throw a pie chart of their
Mm-hmm.
visual consumption,
Yeah.
what kind of style of content they consume the most, you will
Mm-hmm.
always find them on the lighter note, on the funny note,
Mm-hmm.
and where they get the information right in the lightest way. So I
Mm-hmm.
think I think keeping that in mind, artistic and technology is a backend, is a backbone
Back.
always.
Mm-hmm.
Artistically is a medium.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing is the purpose.
Yeah.
And that, so you need to
Yeah.
have your clearly equals to that. Marketing is my objective
Mm-hmm.
product.
Yeah.
Approach needs to be artistic.
Mm-hmm.
If you and technology is my backbone and all that.
Right.
If you understand this fine triangle, I think in the
Mm-hmm.
center you have your results around it. Your results could be very secured
Yeah,
around it.
the best marketers usually follow this approach
Yeah.
because until and unless you know the end vision and your customers very well and follow this approach, my mentors have been teaching me this from the day I joined in the corporate. And
Yeah.
they told me just one thing. If you have an artistic vision mapped with the consumer approach, you can do wonders. Until and unless you bridge that gap of the traditional marketing approach that's happening, you won't be able to go ahead and do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying.
That's why we say know your consumer well. Customer first is the best approach,
Best approach,
is
yeah.
always into marketing.
That's so true. Thank you, Gaurav, for sharing these valuable insights into the world of photography and cinematography. Before we go, could you give our listeners a piece of advice for aspiring marketers or those who are looking to enter in the world of photography?
So people who are entering, so it's two wings. So if anybody out there who has already got this kind of combination in their
Mm-hmm.
head,
Mm-hmm.
trust me, go with it. You are going to be a rare talent for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that I would say. And even if you're not directly into photography and cinematography, having an artistic approach, an
Mm-hmm.
innovative method, it's very simple to understand that marketing means innovation.
Yeah.
But think about it, how many examples you have followed, how
Mm-hmm.
many examples you have implemented, and
Mm.
how many examples you have as success stories. If
Okay.
you have a buffet of it, I think
Mm-hmm.
you are on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
And coming to the photography and cinematography, it's a
Mm-hmm.
industry which is bound to grow.
Mm-hmm.
It is still not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
No matter any format comes, the pro segments is going to be continue to remain consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Cinemas are not going anywhere.
Yeah.
OTTs are growing.
Mm-hmm.
We produce a content in a year,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets consumed the moment it is released overnight on a
Mm-hmm.
week. So imagine the content consumption from platforms from Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the SNS platforms to OTTs to televisions to cinema halls.
Yeah.
Everybody thought during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
God knows what will happen to the cinema theaters anymore. Look
Yeah.
at the box office collections of the films after.
It's crazy.
People are spending time. So anybody who is thriving to make their careers into cinematography or photography, please stay confident. Yes, it's not a 9 to 5 corporate job. It needs a very intense level of madness and passion towards it. So follow your passion, be very dedicated to it. Don't get fascinated by looking at behind the scenes of certain movies, that
Mm.
how cool it looks. Be
Yeah.
there, feel the heat.
Yeah.
Gradually you will become very, very rock solid to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's a very different kind of satisfaction
Mhm.
when you come on this side of the field. And when you have a good blend of it, if you enjoy doing marketing, is nothing, I would say, it's to talk with great pride
Mhm.
and with great compassion and passion about
Mhm.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you pack your knowledge well and
Mhm.
disseminate it properly, your marketing is done. Yeah.
That's the best advice I've heard so far, especially for people who are very passionate about something that really want to do. It's not just about photography, but for the rest of them too. All right. Thank you once again for an enlightening discussion on the role of techno marketing, Gaurav. Your incredible passion and profound insights not only reflect the values that drive Canon as a pioneer in imaging technology, but also inspires all of us. Listeners, we hope you have been inspired to stay on the top of the latest tech advances redefining photography and cinematography. Canon empowers us to keep pushing creative boundaries. So continue to explore, experiment, and find new ways to innovate at visual stories. Like I usually say, the future beholds to those who shape it. From all of us at Brand Talkies, stay tuned and stay inspired. This is me, Tamanna, signing off. And don't forget to subscribe us on your favorite audio platform, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon Music. We are also on YouTube. So go ahead and subscribe now. Thank you. Bye bye.